Rahim, welcome to this new course. It's going to be about grammar for translators and for the beginners in translation. We're focusing on translation from English into Arabic, and you are our target this time. The assumption is that without grammar nobody can translate from Arabic into English. But there is another assumption, which is that if I do not understand the grammar, there will be a problem for me to understand what I am reading in English. This problem seems to be very obvious, but the solution is not that obvious at all. In many cases, people say we have to read grammar books, and there are plenty of books here and there. But still, we need to know something, we need to learn something that would be useful for us when we translate from Arabic into English and when we write something in English. By the same token, we try to understand the grammar of English when we read a text so that we can appreciate the meaning there and we can translate it into Arabic in the right way. There are many approaches. This is something very obvious. And we're taking this approach. It's from a book called Building Skills for the TOEFL. It's written by Nancy Stanley and Carol King. In the previous discussions about the book, I think you should have got details about how to buy this book. We suggest that you get it from Amazon.com or from betterword.com. But I'm sure that many of you have already got the book anyway. Why this book? Because the TOEFL test, in particular, was prepared for people who do not speak English as a native language. And for that purpose, they got the written material of maybe millions of people over the years, and they tried to make a taxonomy or a typology of the errors that they make. After lots of scrutiny and studies, the writers of this and other books found the mistakes in grammar, and they found that those mistakes boil down to 10 areas only. So this is the book. It's made on these 10 areas. From the first glance, I think we will find it a bit strange, because as Arab speakers, we were accustomed to learning something about simple present, and then we go to the present continuous, and then we go to the present perfect, the past simple, etc. And this is something totally different. It's something totally different here. It is a new approach, as I said, a new method of looking at the grammar. So for a while, let's forget something about the traditional way of teaching grammar, which is how to put the simple present tense and how then to start with the past simple and how to write a sentence, the simple sentence, the complex sentence, etc. What we're here today is simply to see those mistakes in a totally different way, from a different vantage point, so to speak. So let's read them. The book tells us that we have a checklist of problem areas in grammar, and those are the following by priority. The word priority means that we start looking at the sentences from the very beginning till the end of this list. The first one says, check for subject and verb, both present, neither repeated. This means that whenever you have a sentence, the first thing that you have to check to see whether the sentence is correct or not is to look for the subject, and then look for the verb. And the rule says the subject must be present, the verb must be present, but neither can be repeated. We will explain that in the following chapter. But here is an example of the error that is mentioned here, which says, children, they need love and protection. And by the way, this mistake is not only committed by us, the non-native speakers. The Americans all the time speak in this way. And I think our friend here, Abdullah and Ali, who are on the list, and other friends maybe, who are exposed to the speaking of the American people, they know very well that the Americans usually, in colloquial way, repeat the subject and sometimes the verbs. So this is the first rule, and under this rule there is a huge chapter to tell us how to check the verb the verb and the subject, and to make sure that they are not repeated. For the time being, if you do not understand, it's okay. We will go into more details and we will see more examples of use. After we finish with the first rule, we will go to the second one on priority, which is check verb agreement, tense and form. And this rule says, if you say, for example, I speaks instead of I speak, then this is a mistake that should be resolved. An example here is that the student has living here for 10 years. And the problem here is with has living. Has living is not a verb in English. It should be has lived. So this is the correction, and this is one example. If you say that student have lived, for example, we have also a problem in the verb agreement in number. Anyway, we move to the third area of errors in grammar, which is check for full subordination, and this is one of the most problematic areas in grammar, especially for us translating from Arabic into English and vice versa. The reason is that in Arabic we have lots of run-on sentences. Run-on sentences simply mean that we write and write and write and never stop. So the example here is that because we wanted to learn fast, the girl studied all the time. This mistake is called subordination because we have the word because. When we have because, if, who, which, why, we're talking about subordination. But because should be followed immediately by a subject, which is they wanted. We don't have the subject here, so it's a subordination problem. It's totally different from the subject-verb, both present neither repeated, simply because we have a because. Anyway, we'll explain that in more details in the following chapters. Check the verbals. Check the verbals. This is also a very common mistake in Arabic when we translate between Arabic and English. You cannot say, for example, this is a very interested book. It should be, this is a very interesting book. And to explain such a rule in the future chapters, we will resort to translation. And we will simply say, this is a very interested book, means in Arabic, هذا كتاب مهتم, which is wrong because the book is inanimate. It does not have feelings of interest. But we have to say, this is a very interesting book, مثير للاهتمام. So here will translation come into play, and we will really enjoy that, because the book was itself designed for grammar only and for theoretical matters, some practical exercises, but all of them are in English. In many cases, when we simply translate, we understand the concept without even going into more details about the grammar. In the meantime, if you have any question, you can all the time raise your hand. We're, by the way, on page 135 of this book. Number 5, check for pronoun. And the pronoun also has a form, agreement, and reference. It was me who answered the telephone. In classical English and written English, it's wrong to say me. You have to say if it was I and not it was me. Because it is the subject, was is the verb, and me is wrong because it's not an object. It should be complement, subject complement it's called, and it must be in the nominative case. We will explain that in its respective chapter 5. Number 6, we're moving down to more complex areas of grammatical errors, and here we have those roses smell real sweet. The problem is with real, it should be really, because the sweet is an adjective, and it should be pre-modified by an adverb rather than by an adjective. So here is the problem, real. Number 7, check word order. The policeman asked the man what was he doing, and it should be what he was doing. There are several rules for word order, and we will take them all. Number 8, check for parallel structure. Mistakes in parallel structure are very common, not only in Arabic and not only in English, but also in Arabic. You say, for example, لم يساعده أحد مثلي, and you wanted to say لم يساعده أحد كما ساعدته أنا. This is parallel structure. It's two things of the same unit, of the same grammar. He likes to swim. Now here we have to swim, and to play, and we have riding horses, which is wrong. Parallel structure says we have to say to swim, then you stick to the infinitive, to play and to ride horses. We'll explain that in its respective chapter, and in the meantime you have the freedom to leave in the book and see all of these chapters, try to study them. Check for unnecessary repetition. This is also more complex than before. I mean the other rules. If you repeat two things in English, this is a grammar mistake. It's not only a stylistic mistake, but also a grammar mistake. You cannot say, for example, he's very fast, a quick runner, because fast and quick have the same meaning. Just delete one of them. Finally, check for correct usage. Correct usage, this is very difficult. This is at the bottom, and simply it's the most difficult. In many cases, we cannot really give a translation that is free of correct usage errors. She is interested for learning Arabic. It should be she is interested in learning Arabic. So prepositions form one area of usage in English, and they are very difficult, by the way, to get. Anyway, we will have some exercises, but anyway, it's very difficult. Correct usage is very difficult. Okay. So that was the very beginning of the chapter number 1, and it tells us about the mistakes. What I want you to do as a homework, what I want you to do when you read the book alone, is whenever you have an example and tells you about the errors, try to match them with those 10 rules. What's the type of error that you face? For example, when you have, for example, she's interested for learning Arabic, do not rush and change for into in. First of all, you have to say what type of error do you have. And here we have, in fact, correct usage. Let's start with exercise 1. This is just a kind of warming up exercise. And for the sake of this presentation, or for the sake of this lecture today, for this meeting today, I will explain it, and you will translate, if you can, from English into Arabic. I will give you the chance to translate. You can use the writing if you like, but we prefer also to hear your voice. But mind you, if you want to speak, you have to speak in English. You can speak in Arabic only if you translate. So let's go for the first sentence. The first sentence, we are still on page 135. Number A, it says, Walter Cronkite, he was the most famous newscaster of his era. Now, the mistake here, the mistake that I have here is with he was, because we're having two subjects. The rule number 1 says, check for the verb and subject, both present and neither repeated, but here we have a repetition. So this is the mistake. It is he, it should be omitted. This one should be omitted because you cannot have two subjects for the same sentence. So Walter Cronkite was the most famous newscaster of his era. Who would like to translate this sentence into Arabic? Abdullah, please. You're unmuted. You can speak now.
Okay, thank you so much about this lecture. I want to translate it in Arabic.
Yes.
The sentence here said in Arabic, والتر كرونكايت كان من أشهر مذيعي الأخبار في عصره.
شكرا لك. Thank you very much, Abdullah. Thank you for your participation. So we need to move quickly from one sentence to another. Thank you very much. I'm now lowering the hand and giving the opportunity for other people to participate with the other examples. Now here is the thing. كان وولتر كرونكايت أشهر you said واحدا من أشهر, but we don't have it in English here. We have أشهر, the most famous. Not one of the most famous, it's the most famous. كان من أشهر المذيعي الأخبار في عصره. Thank you very much, Abdullah. We move now to number B. That student is creative, conscientious, something like this. I don't even know how to read it, and does everything carefully. The problem here that we have is with parallel structure. And parallel structure, the problem with it here is that this one is an adjective. This one is an adjective also, but this one is a verb. And the rule says you cannot have conjunction of verb and adjective and another adjective or a noun or whatsoever. So this is a question for you now who would like to translate it from English into Arabic. You can use whatever resources you have available at the moment. Yes, Mr. Ali, you can now, please, translate it. Ali, you have to unmute yourself. I unmuted you already. Ali, you have to unmute yourself. I cannot hear you. Yes, please now.
اوكي اوكي ذلك طالب مبدع خلاق مخلص في عمله يفعل كل شيء بشكل حذر.
Thank you very much, Ali. Thank you very much for your participation. I would agree with you, and I would say that in Arabic there is no problem with parallel structure, even if it is not present. So you can say يفعل كل شيء بحذر, but you don't say بشكل حذر. You see, the problems though in Arabic are totally different from those in English. Anyway, it's natural because we have two languages. Thank you, Ali. I have lowered your hand again. I will move to number C. The doctor has already left the hospital. Where is the mistake here? The mistake here is in already. It should be one word without, I think, two L's. So this is word form, and it needs a translation. Who would like to translate this one for us from English into Arabic? Yes, we have Ali again, please.
الطبيب غادر للتو المستشفى.
Ali, thank you very much. Thank you very much again for your participation. We do not say الطبيب غادر, we say غادر الطبيب. So here we find that the rules of Arabic are totally different from those in English. We start with the verb first. غادر الطبيب للتو من المستشفى. Thank you very much. Now please remember that in Arabic we have our own rules as well. But anyway, we're just trying to translate these sentences to make our classes relevant to translation. At any time, if you have any question or query you would like to ask something for clarification, please just raise your hand or put down the question in English. If you put it in Arabic, there will be a problem. Shireen, would you like to say it? Anyway, Shireen, we do not have any problem with لقد غادر or غادر at the moment. We want just to move a little bit faster. Now, number D, after the sun has rose, the birds begin chirping. And the problem here is with the verb. It's called verb form, tense and agreement. It shouldn't be has rose. After the sun rises, the birds begin chirping. And what kind of problem that we have here is have what we call verb form. So it should be rise. In other words, let's say it should be rise. Why don't I write it here? Maybe I can write on the blackboard that you can hear. On it's anyway. It seems to be whiteboard rather than blackboard. So it should be rises. After the sun rises. Who would like to translate this sentence from English into Arabic? Salha, please. The floor is yours. Yes, I can. Please, can you talk, please, Salha? I cannot hear you. Are you talking because there's no voice coming from your side? Salha, you may just check the microphone. I think something is wrong with it. I will not lower your hand though, because I will ask you later on maybe to talk. Maisa,
الترجمة.
well, if you want to speak, please speak in English, and yes, you can say translation in
Oh.
Arabic, of course.
Sorry, yeah, okay. بعد شروق الشمس تبدأ الطيور في الزقزقة.
Thank you very much. I think this is a good translation. بعد etc. You heard the translation. I will not repeat it, but it was good. It was acceptable. It was perfect anyway. We move now to number E. Number E says alcoholism sometimes results from an emotion problem. Here we have the problem with emotion. It should be emotional. It should be emotional rather than emotions. So here we have word form. And I'm just a bit surprised if this is word form, then what is this already? Maybe already is a word usage, because different uses of already and already was one word, maybe, I'm not sure. So Nidal, please can you translate this one E into Arabic? You're unmuted.
السلام عليكم.
Yes. وعليكم السلام. Please go ahead.
الكحول أحيانا نتيجة لمشاكل عاطفية تكون.
Thank you very much.
نتيجة لمشاكل عاطفية.
Thank you very much, Nidal. Thank you. As we said in Arabic, we have different rules in translation, different grammar, by the way. And one rule says if it is singular, to just keep it in singular in Arabic. We do not turn it into plural. So it's not مشاكل عاطفية, it's مشكلة عاطفية. Anyway, number F, I think we have number F. Salha, are you ready to participate? I've unmuted you, and Salha, number F, says the players were chosen for their ability to make fast, quick moves. Do you think you can translate it? You still have maybe some problems with the microphone because I cannot hear you. Unfortunately, we do not have much time, so I'm lowering your hand and I'll give it the floor to other people. If you are ready, please, at any time, just inform me. The problem here is unnecessary repetition. We have either fast or quick, and this is a problem. I think I will move now to another person to answer this question. Maybe Abdullah, can you please help us to translate it from English into Arabic, please?
Yeah. Okay, are you hearing me now?
Yes, you're unmuted. I can hear you.
Yeah, okay. Thanks. The translation is like تم اختيار اللاعبين بناء على قدرتهم في الحركة السريعة.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Abdullah. I really appreciate your presence here. And this is the first time you join our lectures and you're participating, which is very good. Thank you very much. We have this problem in Arabic which says تم اختيار. We don't have تم اختيار in Arabic. We says اختير اللاعبون بناء على قدرتهم في عمل حركات سريعة. Thank you very much. We move now to the second one, which is now G. This is the final one. The crowd enjoyed the excited movie. And here we have obviously the problem with the excited, which is verbal. It should be exciting. As such, this one as such can be translated into استمتع الحشد بالفيلم المتأثر بنفسه. And this is untrue. It should be something else. So it should be exciting rather than excited. And I'll try to write it here, I think. So we can write it here on the whiteboard. It is exciting. It should be exciting. Next page, which is going to be number 136. And we have two people now raising their hands, Sana and Ali. We will start first of all number 8 to explain what it is. The man is enough strong to lift 300 pounds. The problem here is with enough strong, it should be strong enough. And as you can see, it is word order. Some people may ask, how do I know it is strong enough? In fact, there is a chapter about it. We will cross the bridge when we'll come to it. Now, who would like to translate this one? Number 8, I think we have Sana, please. The floor is yours. Sana, I cannot hear you. I really cannot hear you. So we will move to another person. I try to find somebody who hasn't talked before. We have Fatima, please. Fatima, the floor is yours. Fatima, the mic is yours.
السلام عليكم. الرجل قوي بما يكفي لرفع 300 باوند.
Thank you very much, Fatima. This is a good translation. الرجل قوي بما يكفي لرفع 300 رطل. Well, he should be a strong man if he can do that. Thank you very much, Fatima. The swimming pool was closed because needed cleaning. Here we have what's called subordination, and it should be because it needed cleaning. Once you find the error immediately in a very quick way, I think you will be able to master the grammar of English. And we have now Shireen would like to say something. Could you please translate it, Shireen, for us?
أغلق حمام السباحة لأنه يحتاج إلى التنظيف.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Shireen. Yes, you can say أغلق المسبح أو حمام السباحة. يغلق حمام السباحة, as you said. I will not change it because it's correct anyway. لأنه يحتاج إلى التنظيف. Here we have just a problem with needed, whether we say لأنه يحتاج or احتاج. This cannot be determined on the sentence level. It needs to be determined on the context level, on the paragraph level, etc. Some animals protect themselves with camouflage, and here we have the problem with themselves. It should be themselves and not themselves. This is what we call a pronoun problem. Who would like now to translate this? Am I writing it correctly? I think yes, yeah, on the whiteboard. Okay, now we have Sarah, please.
Hi. I think animals protect themselves with camouflage. I think بعض الحيوانات تحمي نفسها من خلال أسلوب التمويه.
Thank you very much, Sarah. This is a good translation. I agree with you. بعض الحيوانات تحمي نفسها من خلال التمويه. We usually start with the verb first, though. We can say تحمي بعض الحيوانات نفسها بالتمويه. Anyway, we cannot decide at the moment. We need a bigger context. We need something broader. We need a paragraph to see whether we start with the verb or we start with the subject. This is a long story that we will not discuss it at the moment. Let's see just a couple of the questions that we have. Yes, Abdullah, you have a comment. You want to say something? Please, the floor is yours. You can see.
Mr. Muhammad, just I have inquiries about sentence I. Can I say
Sorry, I cannot hear you. Sorry, we're disconnected. Seems to be either I am disconnected, maybe, or... Let me see if I am disconnected or not.
Okay.
Yes, I am disconnected, I think.
Muted.
Because we have a problem. And thank you for reminding me. One of you has just reminded me that there is a problem with the screen. Unfortunately, I have just noticed this problem.
Hello?
I have, yes, problems with the connections. Yes. Please go ahead, Abdullah. I can hear you. Yes. Yes, we can hear you. Could you please talk?
Unmuted.
I'm sorry. Something is wrong with this connection. Something is wrong with the webinar. Something is wrong with the computer. Sorry for all of these problems. Abdullah, I can hear you well. Could you please talk?
Yeah, okay. Can I like say the swimming pool was closed because it needed to be closed, to be cleaned?
It
Sorry.
needed to be cleaned. Yes, you can say that. No problem. Thank you
Yeah,
very
okay,
much.
thanks.
Thank you very much, of course. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so
So
much.
once again, I'm sorry for several mistakes that happened in this this thing. But as I said, usually if you do not raise your hand and ask a question, I will not see you. And one of you has just said that the whiteboard was not present on the screen. This was disastrous for me. Anyway, I think you can see the whole screen now, which is the whiteboard that I'm writing on all the anyway. So now exercise 2, which says that we have sentences and we will fill in the blanks with each sentences. The first one is salamander, space to the order can data. So do we say in or which or belongs or belonging? What do you think? Zainab, maybe you want to say something, please. Which one?
Yes, number B or belongs.
Okay, thank you very much, Zainab. Thank you very much, Zainab. You answered that correctly. Now we have number B, which is belongs. Why? Because we must have check for the subject and verb, both present, neither repeated. Salamander is the subject. We need to have a verb which is belongs. We cannot have any either of those things because they will break the rule of the existence of the verb. Number 2, it is the metallurgist studies ways to work metals. Here we will have subordination. What do we do? Let me see who would like to answer this one. Now we have Amira. Please, Amira. Number 2. You have to unmute yourself, Amira, please. You can talk. We're at number 2,
Hello.
is the metallurgist, yes?
Okay. D.
D, yes, it is D. Thank you.
Number D.
Number D, yes. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yes, it's D. It should be who. Number 3, although named until 1782, aluminium was used as early as 5300 BC. That's a long time ago. So, although, when we say although, it must be followed by subject and verb as a subordinate clause. Who would like to answer this question? Who would like to answer this question? Shall I say it's maybe we have so many people who would like to participate, I think. And I will choose now, I think, let me see, Maha, could you please?
Yes, although it was not named until
Yes, thank you very
1780.
much, Maha, thank you. Yes, although it was not. Simply because we have it was not, it should be, this is false subordination, although must be followed by subject and verb. Some people would say, how do I know? I would say, no problem, we will have a whole chapter about this, so don't worry about it. This is just a warming up exercise. You don't necessarily have to know everything about it. Number 4, scientists are studying light rail to find out if cancer. Here we have also subordination, full subordination. If takes all the time, subject and verb. So which one? Can it cure? Can it cure has a problem. Although it has a subject and verb, it and can cure, but we have word order problem. Can cure is good, but it doesn't have a subject. So we will eliminate A and B, and we will ask Amne maybe. Amne, please. Which one is correct? Sorry, one moment. Yes, Amne.
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you. Number 4.
I
which
guess
one?
the
Yes.
I guess the correct answer is number C. If it can cure cancer.
Yes, thank you very much, Amne. That's correct. You do not guess. In fact, you gave the right answer. The correct answer is it can cure cancer, which is full subordination. And we are, as I said, on page 136. Now we have number 5. Ride sharing become more popular when gasoline prices rose. Since this is the very first lecture, I will help you to decide which one is wrong. And here we have the problem with become, because in the next chapter, in one of the next chapters, which talks about verb, agreement, tense, and form, we will learn how to define whether a subject takes a plural or singular word, or how to decide the tense also. So we have ride sharing should be became, or becomes. It should be becomes. Anyway, this should be becomes. Anyway, who would like to translate this one? Number 5. Who would like to translate this one? Zaki, I think he would like to participate. Please. Zaki, are you with us? Please. Go ahead and translate number 5. Zaki has a problem certainly with the microphone. I could not hear him. So we have Ali, please. One moment. Yes, Ali. Unmute yourself, please, and talk.
مشاركة الركوب تصبح أكثر شعبية عند ارتفاع أسعار البنزين.
Well, in fact, by the way, we have to say, yes, we have to say became, not becomes, because we have rose, which is past tense. So here we have to say became. So we have to say أصبحت مشاركة الركوب في السيارات أكثر شعبية عندما ارتفعت أسعار الوقود. شكرا لك. Thank you very much. Now we move to number 6, the elephant population. It has declined rapidly because many of the animals are killed each year. And obviously we have a problem here, which is it has. It has subject and verb. You cannot have two subjects. Population is one, and it, you do not have it. So we have to cross it out. It must be subject and verb, both present, neither repeated. Who would like to translate it? I think Salha, everything is fine now with the microphone, hopefully. Salha, I'm afraid you have a problem with the microphone. I cannot hear you. I'm sorry for that. We have Sana. Maybe I haven't heard from you, Sana. Maybe could you please translate it? Number 6, the elephant population has declined rapidly because many of the animals are killed each year. I cannot hear you. I cannot hear you. Do you have any problem with this microphone? You're unmuted, but I cannot hear you. I'm sorry. So maybe we have Maysa.
انخفض عدد الأفيال انخفاضا سريعا نظرا لقتل العديد من الحيوانات كل عام.
Maysa, thank you very much. You gave us a very good translation, and I would like to stress that rapidly we do not translate it as بشكل سريع, but as Maysa said, she used the cognate object and she said انخفاضا سريع, which is the correct in Arabic, of course. But if you say بشكل سريع, it's wrong. Thank you, Maysa, for giving us this translation of rapidly in the right way. Now we move to Ali. Maybe he wants to say something, maybe, but before you say it, I would like to explain the error here. When parents allow his children to spend many hours watching television, the children are not likely to be physically fit. The children, this is subject, is not repeated, are not likely, this is are, it is the verb not repeated as well. So no problem with this check for subject and verb, both present, neither repeated. If you go through the list, you will find that here this is problem of the pronoun, form, agreement, etc. Parents allow their children, and not, you cannot say his children, it must be their children. So Ali, could you please give us a translation, and then we move to Maha. Sorry, Abdullah, I think I am waiting for Abdullah, not for Ali, maybe. Yes,
Hello?
Abdullah, yes, I can hear you, yes. Is it
Yes,
Abdullah or Ali?
I'm
I'm not
ready
sure.
now. Yeah, Abdullah. Abdullah's ready now.
Sorry, Abdullah.
Yeah,
I
okay.
read your name in the
No
right
problem.
Yeah.
No problem. You want me to translate
Number
it,
7,
right?
please. Could you please translate it?
اوكي. عندما يسمح الآباء لأطفالهم لتمضية العديد من الساعات في مشاهدة التلفاز، النتيجة ستكون or can I say like سوف لن يكونوا في لياقة بدنية جيدة.
Thank you very much, Abdullah. I like this translation because we will learn something from it. Maha, I will move to you. I'm sorry I forgot you, but I will move to you just a moment. سوف لن يكونوا بلياقة بدنية. I would like to suggest that we try to use it in a more colloquial way in Arabic by saying سوف تنخفض لياقتهم البدنية. سوف تنخفض لياقتهم البدنية. Maha, could you please would you like to translate the next sentence, number 8, Maha? Sure, Maha, you will translate it. Just one moment, I need first of all to explain it, and then I will give you the floor to translate. Families who are unfortunate, of course, this is word order, and there is a special chapter about that, who are fortunate enough and not unfortunate. This must be fortunate enough to own a historic home, may be able to get restoration funds from the government. Maha, the microphone is yours.
العائلات سعداء الحظ اسمها one second please. Families who are enough trying to own a historic home. العائلات سعداء الحظ الذين يمكنهم امتلاك منزل may be able to get restoration funds from the government. يمكنهم استعادة الأموالهم من الحكومة.
Thank you very much. We have a problem with translation here, but thank you anyway, Maha. So I will just explain something to you, and if you have any question you can still ask me. العائلات المحظوظة بما يكفي because it's fortunate enough, not unfortunate. We corrected the mistake because this is an error in word order. المحظوظة بما يكفي لشراء بيت عريق تاريخيا. We cannot say سوف or whatsoever. You have to or you can say ربما. قد يستطيعون الحصول على funds تمويلات. Restoration ترميم. Now this is the issue. Restoration is policy which has several meanings, and this one is ترميم من الحكومة. Thank you very much, Maha. We enjoy listening to your translation. I think we have now Amna, Maisa, and Abdullah, and Masarrat wanted to say something, but now she's not raising her hand. Maybe Masarrat, if you like to translate anything, please just raise your hand, because I saw that you raised it once and could not give you the chance for that. Number 9, a good sentence in English is one that is brief, short, and easy to understand. And here the question, the problem that we have is called unnecessary repetition. You cannot say brief and short. One of them is either brief or short, but you cannot have both of them. In other words, this sentence has repetitions. Let's see who's writing down. I think Okay, now let's see what we have. Okay. Who would like to translate this one? Masarrat, please. I'm giving you the microphone now to translate it, please.
الجملة الجيدة في اللغة الإنجليزية هي الجملة القصيرة وسهلة الفهم.
Thank you very much. I think there is no comment that I can make on this translation. This is accurate. Thank you, Masarrat. Before I move to Ali, I would like to ask Zeki and there is also another person who had a Salha, if they have still problems with the microphone, because they wanted to participate and they couldn't, simply because there is a problem. Anyway, number 10, we have Abdullah and we have Ali raising their hands. The first things the new international students must do include renting an apartment, registering for classes, and to get to know the city. This is what we call parallel structure. Renting is okay, no problem with renting, no problem with registering, but you cannot say to get. Renting, registering, getting to know the city. This is called parallel structure. And I think Maysa wanted to say something, please. Would you like to translate it?
Yeah. Could I translate it?
Please do. Go ahead.
اوكي. تشمل الاشياء التي يجب تشمل الاشياء الاولى التي على اي طالب دولي فعلها: استئجار شقة، التسجيل في الصفوف الدراسية والتعرف على المدينة.
Thank you very much. We always enjoy your translations, all of you, by the way, because every time we find new issues to fix. And thank you, Maysa. This is a correct translation, but I would like just to fix something, which is, first of all, after the comma here, we translate it into Arabic as wa, because the comma is translated in light of what comes at the end of the sentence. It's here and comma, it should be simply and. So you say استئجار شقة و التسجيل و etc. because it ends with and. If it is أو, you have to say أو here. Classes, and here this is very American, by the way. Classes, very American, and we don't say الصفوف الدراسية here in Arabic. We say how do you say it in Arabic? I think we say it in Arabic المقررات الدراسية or المواد الدراسية, المساقات الدراسية, something like this, I think. Anyway, we finished with this warm-up chapter and we move now to business. We're getting down to business now. And this is our first chapter. We are now on page, let me see which page is 138. We're starting with the check the subject and verb both present neither repeated. Okay, check for the subject and verb both present neither repeated. Anyway, we'll start with the same exercise. We have first 10 sentences that we need on page 138 to identify whether those are which role matches which sentence. Before I proceed forward, I would like just to tell you two things. The first one, please follow up my Facebook, because tomorrow maybe we will not have a lecture. I will try to tell you about that maybe in one way or another, but there is much likelihood that tomorrow I will not be able to make it. So we'll postpone tomorrow's lecture to some other days. Please just check my Facebook all the time, because this is the only way that I can communicate with you. And I believe that all of you have my Facebook account or link whatsoever. Second, we would like to see now here in this exercise the zebra as well as the other African animals face possible extinction. What's wrong with this is that Amna, would you like to correct this sentence? Okay, you can do so, that if you like. Please do. Go ahead.
Hello.
Yes, Amna.
First, I have a question.
Yes.
Check for parallel structure. First time I read this sentence, and when I read the examples, I understand it like we organized the sentence according to something called al-qafiyah. And until now, I understand it like this.
Well,
is this right
yes,
or not?
This understanding is a bit correct. Yes, I think there's no problem with it. But let us, as I said in the very beginning, when we come to the bridge, we will cross it. There is a whole chapter about parallel structure, and we'll see. But basically, you're right. It must be a kind of balance between the rhymes. You're talking about rhymes, but I'm sure you're not talking about rhymes phonetically. You're talking about rhymes grammatically, so to speak.
Yes.
So in this sense, yes, you are right. Okay, thank you very much, Amna. Thank you very much. We move now to... Okay, the zebra as well as other African animals face possible extinction, and this rule is called the problem with the verb, because here we have the zebra as well as the other animals. Here it must be faces. So I would like also to correct it here. It must be faces, not face. It must be faces, simply because the rule says whenever we have as well as, we never look at what comes after, but we look at what comes before. The zebra is singular and face must be faces, so it should be faces. Who would like to translate this sentence? I think we have Zaki. Could you please translate this sentence?
Hi.
Yes. تفضل Zaki.
Do you hear me, sir?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. We can say حيوان الحمار الوحشي إلى جانب حيوانات أفريقية أخرى. يواجه الحمار الوحشي إلى جانب حيوانات أفريقية أخرى خطر الانقراض أو احتمال
الانقراض. Yes, you can say that. Please, yes, that's correct. No problem. Thank you very much, Zaki. We move now to the next sentence, which is the space shuttle back to Earth safely, and this one lacks the verb came, and this one says rule number 1: check for the subject and verb both present, neither repeated. Who would like to translate that? The space shuttle came back to Earth safely. Maisa, please.
عاد مكوك الفضاء إلى الأرض بسلام أو بأمان.
Now here I have a problem with you. You cannot say بسلام or أمان. You have to use only one word. Which one?
بسلام.
Okay, you can say بسلام, but you cannot say بأمان. أمان is another issue. Thank you very much. Next one, number C. Some people claim that importing wine is better than domestic wine. So what's wrong with this one? This one is called parallel structure. You cannot say importing wine, it must be imported wine. So, because it talks about wine, I will not translate it. Number D, each of those cars had their tires slashed. The problem here is with the pronoun, it should be its rather than slash, because the rule says each is singular and not plural. Abdullah, could you please translate this sentence for us? Number D.
Yeah, but I'm just wanted to know the meaning for slash. Is it like in Arabic, Mr. Muhammad? Could you please help me by this slashed?
Yes. What do you think about the tires? What happens to them?
It's like punched.
It is the same, yes. فيها
Can I
ثقوب
say
or something like
the
this.
same thing? Yeah.
No, the same thing, no problem.
Yeah.
So what do you
Okay.
think?
كل من تلك السيارات عجلاتها مفقوعة. How can I say it?
Okay, I'd
Arabic,
like just to ask you something. Why don't you say لقد ثقبت عجلات كل واحدة من هذه السيارات. That's all. It is something the dictionary, I'm just opening the dictionary now. It says slash means يخفض يشق يشطب يجرح يفتح طريقا يشرط مشروط يعني شرطت. So the closest meaning maybe is شرطت عجلات كل واحدة من هذه السيارات. This is how we say it maybe. Anyway, thank you very much for your participation and for your answering this question. Teachers are likely to praise correct and accurate answers here. Obviously, you omit one of them. You cannot say correct and you cannot say accurate together. One of them is true, the other must be omitted, and this is what we call unnecessary repetition. Who would like to answer this one? Shireen, please.
يميل الأساتذة إلى مدح الإجابات الدقيقة.
Okay, thank you very much. And by the way, in Arabic you can say الدقيقة والصحيحة والمضبوطة والممتازة والصحيحة والتي لا بأس بها والتي تعجبهم. In Arabic, be my guest, say as many words as possible. You can say in Arabic even لقد ضل الناس وعمهوا في ضلالتهم وحادوا عن الطريقة المثلى, and all of them have the same meaning. So what I wanted to say, the Arabic is totally different from English, even in grammar. Thank you very much for your participation and for answering this question. So Will Rogers was known primarily for a humorist, and here we have a problem with for. It should be as a humorist, as a humorist. So who would like to translate this one? I think we have maybe Sana, please. Yes. One moment, Sana, please. You have the microphone, you can talk. Do you have a microphone, Sana? Because I cannot hear you. I'm checking on the audio. There's nothing with the audio, no problem with the audio, I think. So possibly you have a problem, Sana, with your microphone, maybe? Anyway, I cannot hear you. I'm sorry. Sorry, Sana. Please check the microphone or just write your answer for this question. Will Rogers was known primarily as a humorist rather than for a humorist. Would you like to translate it? If you want, I will give you the chance to translate it in the text because I cannot hear you. Yes, Sana, I can see there is a problem and I don't know why, but I unmuted you. You unmuted yourself. You should talk if you have a microphone. Anyway, I'm sorry for that. So maybe we can wait for Sana to give us a translation for this one. Okay, we'll wait for Sana for another try, maybe later on. Mechanical engineering is an applied scientist. Here we have a problem with the word form. It should be science and not scientist. Who would like to translate it now? We have Zainab. Please. Zainab, you have the mic. Zainab, yes? I cannot hear you. Zainab is muted. I don't know why. Maybe because of the problem with the microphone. We move to Ali. Please, Ali.
الهندسة الميكانيكية هي علم تطبيقي.
Thank you very much, Ali. Correct. الهندسة الميكانيكية علم تطبيقي.